Hello, everybody. I'm so glad you guys could make it. We have a very special treat for you this evening. So first of all, if any of you girls want to come and join us up front to get a little bit closer of a viewing, feel free to come on in and kind of, settle in around the stage here. So, how many of you have heard the song, This Little Light of Mine? Good. Can we sing a little bit of it? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Good job. That is what we've been talking about all this year when we've been meeting here, is being a light for Jesus. Now, how many of you have heard the story of Jesus' birth before? Good job. Now, there's a light that we talk about in that story. Can you guys remember what the light is in that story that we talk about? You can shout it out. The star. Very good. Now, besides baby Jesus, can you guys shout out some other characters that we meet in the story of Jesus' birth? Mary, Joseph, angels. Keep going. Good job. What? Shepherds. Good job. The 3 wise men. Very good. So, zeroing in on the 3 wise men, does anybody know what the 3 wise men and the star have in common? Anybody want to shout it out? Yeah. Yes, the 3 wise men follow the star. They followed that light to Jesus. You guys ever tried to put yourself in those shoes before and wondered what it would have been like to have been somebody that was a part of that first Christmas? Well, instead of me telling you about it, why don't we have the 3 wise men come and tell you themselves? They're here tonight. Can you believe it? Can you give them a warm welcome? They're going to come out and tell you their story.
Good evening. Did you hear them? Good evening. Thank you for inviting us here this evening. We don't have a lot of time. We're actually kind of in a hurry, but we wanted to share just a little bit of information about a familiar story, and we want you to know a little bit about us and our journey that we took to Bethlehem. We're magi, wise men. Some call us wise guys. But we're really priests of a religion in Persia. Part of our responsibility as wise men or magi was to advise the king about decisions that he needed to make and help him, because he looked to us as people who had wisdom. Now, one of the ways we helped make decisions was we studied the stars. We watched their movements, and sometimes there were some spectacular things that took place in the sky. Sometimes the planets would align, or maybe stars would align, and it was our belief that if we looked at the stars, it would help us understand what was going to take place in the future. Well, one night, the 3 of us were outside, and we're looking up into the dark night, and the stars were just amazing. And we noticed, I remember, we noticed that there was something new, something we had never seen before. And it caught our attention. We wondered what it meant. And as we had conversation with one another, we began to reflect on the fact that years prior to this, there was a group of people that were captive in our land. They were called Jews. And part of their teaching was that one day there was going to be a king. They called him Messiah, who was to be born in Israel. Well, as we considered that, we wondered, could it be? Could it be that this star is pointing to the fact that maybe a king has been born? Well, we decided, let's go find out. So we set out on a long journey. We collected a few gifts. The most logical place to go was Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. if we wanted to find a king, that was probably the place that we would find an answer. So we began our 1,400-mile journey from Persia to Jerusalem. Let me tell you, those camels, they are not comfortable after that many miles. There were mountains that we had to cross. There were deserts that we had to navigate, and streams and rivers. It was not an easy trip. But after almost 4 weeks, we made it. Malcor, tell us about what we saw when we got to Jerusalem.
Well, my bottom is still a little sore from that.
I understand.
That was rough. But we went to Jerusalem to see King Herod. He wanted us there, and he wanted to ask us to go and to find this new king. Then we could go and worship the new king. We were excited. As we entered this palace, it was like 200 or 300 times size of this room. So much bigger. It was breathtaking. There was fountains. There was rooms for parties and all these different get-togethers. So many people could have hung out there. And we were there. It was incredible. We saw all the gold and silver that was on the plates, the cups, the forks and the spoons. There were towers of giant statues. In this palace, towers of statues. I couldn't believe how big they were. And we were shown the towers, and they were named after some of King Herod's brothers and his wife that he didn't get along with very well. But they were stones so large, I could not even believe how they would even get them in there. It had to take at least us, if not more people, to move them in there. It was a beautiful sight. But we finally got to talk with King Herod, and he told us to go straight to Bethlehem. He told us we needed to search for the king, the new king. Well, we knew that King Herod, he's got a short temper. He gets a little paranoid or worried about others and what they think, and he's downright evil at times. So we did exactly what he said, and we packed up quickly, and as much as I didn't want to get on the camel again, I did.
That's right. And so as my friends shared, there was one star that was different than all of the others. And we knew that we had to keep following this star. And so we did. Day after day after day, we followed this star over hills. I call them mountains, but over hills, through valleys, through crowds of people, through towns. We kept following this star. And one day, it stopped. It stopped right over a certain house. Can you imagine how excited we are when this star finally stopped? Because we knew what that meant. So we went into the house, and we saw a mother and a baby inside of this house. And we knew that that child was this king that we were looking for. So we bowed down and we worshiped this king. And we gave him those gifts that we had brought. I gave him gold.
I ended up giving frankincense, which is used to make a scent for the sacred offerings and sacrifices in the Holy of the Holies of the temple.
Tell him why you brought gold.
I brought him gold because gold is for kings and for royalty.
And I brought myrrh. It was kind of strange because myrrh is often used for burial purposes. But all of these gifts were rather expensive, fit for a king. In fact, these were the traditional gifts that a king would receive upon his birth.
And so as we spent time, we learned that the mother's name was Mary and that this king's name was Jesus.
We knew that this was somebody incredibly important, but we had no idea what types of miracles this new king was going to do. We also didn't know that this king was not sent just for the Jews, but this king was sent to save all of us.
After we had seen the child, we made our way to rest. And that night, we all had the same dream. The dream says, do not go back into Jerusalem. Herod is not a good guy. You need to go home a different way. So we're really in a hurry because we don't want Herod to know that we're skipping out because he told us to return to him. So we've got to run. But thank you for listening to our story tonight. And it's not just a story. It really happened.